Hello, my name is Royletta Romaine. I'm the owner of Healing by the Forkful. I'm a registered dietitian and also licensed in the state of Massachusetts, as well as a certified LEAP therapist from Boston, Mass. LEAP stands for Lifestyle, Eating, and Performance. I help my clients reduce or stop symptoms of inflammation, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, and migraines with food, not medication. You can find me on Instagram at Healing by the Forkful, or you can email me at healingbytheforkfulrd@gmail.com. My mini podcast is short and to the point. A few times a month, I will bring you a new person who has been helped by what I call a personalized anti-inflammation blueprint. Please send me an email if you have questions or would like to be on the podcast. My hope is to reach and help as many people as I can. So today we have with us a fellow registered dietitian and certified LEAP therapist. Her name is Emily Prouse. Am I saying that correctly?
You did, yep.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk a little bit about her business, because she's also doing the blueprints with her patients. So as you know, I like to let different therapists tell how they describe it to their patients, because I just think each time we hear it a little bit differently, it just makes it more understandable for all of us, really, sleep therapists included. So, welcome, Emily.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Emily Prouse. As she said, I'm a registered dietitian here in the state of Kansas. I'm in Emporia, Kansas, and a certified LEAP therapist for the last year. And I work while I say private practice, I'm with a group practice that my husband actually started. It's a mental health group. So I work with several therapists and counselors, psychologists and counselors, and then myself getting to work with our clients with
That's
their nutrition.
Really awesome, because we're finding that a lot of patients who have depression and other mental illnesses do have a lot of inflammation. So if we can bring it down, they can feel that much better. So yeah. That's a pretty cool combination.
It is a good one. And yeah, I've been able to see some really cool results specifically to when you're talking like depression and anxiety. So
yeah, that's amazing. So every time I have a different fellow LEAP therapist, I always like them to explain how they explain LEAP to their patients, in hopes that somebody who's been listening and following, they might not just be so sure about what's going on, but each time they hear it a little differently, it will be explained clearer and they can get a better grasp on it.
Sure. Yeah, honestly, I might tell you a little bit about how I was sold on LEAP. So I, like I said, I'm working this group practice, but I am trying to build the nutrition side of it, so it's, we have plenty of people that come for their mental health counseling, maybe not for nutrition. And so I was trying to figure out what other service I could offer to clients. And a friend of mine who now is a retired dietitian, she had been certified in the sleep protocol years ago, but never put it into practice because she worked with our local hospital. But she knew of a person who, well, first she suggested, have you ever looked into LEAP? Like, this could be something really cool for your practice. And honestly, like, if you talk to the medical professional, a doctor or something, they may kind of turn up their nose at this study, actually, because maybe they haven't heard of it. They're saying, well, there's not a lot of studies behind this. So there's some pushback. And I've always been a little bit of a skeptic of different things that might be too good to be true. But
I was totally a skeptic. I was like, this is a last ditch resort. Like at the point when I tried it, I was just like, whatever, I'll just do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it worked.
Yeah. Well, the story she told me, that I was like, okay, like, I'm going to look into this. She knew a person who actually had struggled getting pregnant, had a couple of miscarriages, and so was looking to figure out what was going on within her body. So she was doing this particular client, this woman, was going to different medical places, getting different labs drawn. Like, there was a place that was more specific to just getting lab work done and then medicating. It wasn't like a traditional doctor's office, so to speak. So she did that. She got her lab work done. They actually prescribed her several medications that she never did fill. But instead, she went and worked with my friend dietitian on this LEAP protocol. When she went back and had her labs rechecked, they said, you must have started these meds, right? Like your numbers have improved so much. And she hadn't. And not only that, she wasn't following her LEAP diet to the T. Like she was actually gradually going into it. There was a vacation. She's like, I'm going to start small. So like some of those, and now she actually has had a healthy baby. She got pregnant.
Oh, that's awesome.
Had a baby. So for me, like hearing a real world thing from a dietitian I knew made me really excited about it. So
it makes a huge difference because there's so many influencers telling you all these different things online, and they don't have the education and the background that we have. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that we were both a little skeptical about it. And then we did our research, and we found out that it was actually sound.
And did it on ourselves too.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's awesome. So we do know that MRT is the gold standard, but what is your, I guess, not necessarily elevator pitch, but what do you usually say to your patients so that they understand what's going on?
Yeah. So one thing, I mean, as I'm working with a client, I may or may not, I don't strictly do LEAP. I see clients for different sorts of things. And when they come to me and when I'm hearing some of the words that make me think of inflammation,
right.
Then I start to talk about it with clients, or then I send them that food symptom survey. Might be, like between our next 2 appointments, do this and let's see what your body is telling you. And so I talk specifically about that, but then I like to talk about one thing that was impactful for me doing the training was seeing how when your blood gets sent to the lab, what actually happens is that your blood, it's like by droplet, it is matched up with these different foods. And so your blood is actually, that's all it is showing how your body is reacting to these different foods. And I think that's really cool. That it's
so individualized.
So individual, so specific. And, I'll talk with clients like, inflammation is a big word right now. It's a trendy thing, an anti-inflammatory diet. But some of those things that are targeted as being a general anti-inflammatory diet, some of those things that we always think about are healthy were some of my highest foods.
They can trigger people. Yes, as a dietitian that we both work with, olive oil was on her list. And what does everybody say? Oh, you need to remove inflammation. Go get some olive oil.
Yeah.
And it may not be the greatest thing for you.
Yeah. So just actually seeing how your body reacts to whole foods is so important because what we think, what everybody is saying is the right thing to do may be the opposite for you. So to get you to feel better.
Absolutely. So in layman's terms, let's talk about the MRT test versus the sensitivity tests that are popping up on the market everywhere. Because everybody just wants to go to CVS and grab one, and then they wonder why it didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, like we've said already, the MRT test is so individualized. There has, the people that do it, that's what they do. They know it. They've been able to study this against different tests and just see that over the years how this one is far more accurate and reliable than these other tests. So I don't know that there's so many things I haven't even looked into that people are doing. Like you can do that, but there isn't the research backing it. Maybe it's cheaper. Or whatever it is. But I feel like even though there is an expense for the MRT test, it's fairly reasonable. And, a lot of my clients will use their health savings accounts or things like that and break it down.
It is very reasonable when you start to think about going back and forth to the doctors because you don't feel well, going to additional appointments, taking more medication because you don't feel well, when it can actually be like, oh, well, let's just try this. Let's eliminate some of the foods in an organized fashion. We're not just randomly pulling foods out of your diet. And I just like to always say sorry, Emily. I always like to say during these sessions that we are registered dietitians. We are not medical doctors, so you should never stop taking medication that's been prescribed to you by a doctor. This is a process, and we as dietitians work with you and we work with your doctor so that we can get you the best care. Do not ever just stop cold turkey taking medications.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you were going to say something.
Well, yeah, I was, and it may be jumping onto a next question, but just the fact that with the MRT test, it allows us to be so much more efficient, not only with the food, like with what you're saying, it's not just an elimination diet where we're pulling out all foods, or, I had a client tell me that he fasted and then was adding in different foods to figure, he was kind of in a way doing his own test. But this, allows us to pinpoint those foods so that you can feel better faster.
Right. And we help you keep everything balanced. So it's not like, okay, this week you're just not eating one food group. Like we work with you so that we know that within the first phase, the first 2 weeks, that you are going to have a sound diet. It might be a little different from what you're used to, but it is going to be balanced and sound. Whereas other times when people do things like this, they just pull out whole food groups and they're just lacking the whole thing. And we don't know how long you've been on it or how your body's absorbing things. So maybe you're missing certain things because your body doesn't have a store of whatever that vitamin is. It goes on and on and on, and people just don't think of those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some people say, well, we kind of talked about this too, that there aren't enough studies, and a lot of people do different things to try to reduce their inflammation, and I just think it's so interesting. There was recently a viral, I guess I'll say, a little video or whatever, where she was talking about how dietitians shouldn't really be in this realm of things, but it's like, hello, we do food, versus a lot of the other times, if you do set these kind of studies and tests with other people, they don't know anything about food. They're just going to hand you a list and say good luck. So that's definitely not the best thing. You should definitely be working with a registered dietitian, and there aren't that many of us that actually practice this protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another thing too, when we were talking about just balancing it and other things that people do, I have a new client with that's done the LEAP protocol, and he had spent, a year or more, but going to allergists. And that's the other piece. I'm not saying anything against that either, but it is such a process. And, in my clients' words, more invasive, you go and you get all these pricks. And not only that, then you have to sit there for an hour and a half, and you have to have your EpiPen. And again, not that it's, for some people, that's the route they need to take, and that's fine. But when you do the LEAP test, because honestly, those sensitivities may not even be, they're not catching the same thing that we're catching either.
Right.
And so this particular client had gone to ear, nose, and throat for some of his symptoms. He'd gone to allergists for symptoms, and it just struggling to figure out what's going to make him feel better. And so it's exciting when you can see, when you get the results and you're like, oh, and he even told me, I forgot that when I had this certain food, like this symptom just was immediate. And he hadn't even, he never would have put it together.
Right.
Until he saw those results. So anyway, it's just cool.
Yeah, and I just have to say that I really appreciate the order, that it's so systematic, that we're trying to figure out what's going on with you. We're just not randomly picking things, and that's just, to me, that is just really huge, because once somebody's like, oh, something doesn't feel good, it's just like, I'm automatically going to go for gluten. Gluten, if you don't have a problem with it, why are you buying all these gluten-free foods and spending all this money on gluten-free items that you don't need to? You can go to a movie, you can go have some fun with a friend, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I just think it's wonderful that we have the opportunity to pinpoint things like that. So what do we have next? So what about your patients? What do they say is the hardest part of the protocol?
I think that first phase is hard. and one thing I always work through clients is what are your favorite foods? When we're looking at like, what are your favorite foods now? I mean, what are your favorite go-to snacks or comfort foods?
Mm-hmm.
And especially if it's something that is on their list that they have to avoid for the first phase. So then we talk through all of the things about that. Like, what is the mouthfeel? What is it? What is it that you're going to miss? Because it's not just the flavor, but is it
the whole experience with the food? Yes.
Yeah. What is the whole experience? And so just preparing them for that, because depending on how tricky, depending on your results, it can be really tricky. And so I feel like day 9 and 10 get really hard. And that's, I just try to be upfront and honest and help them prepare
Right.
that is, we've got to work through this together. And then those are I provide a lot of support during that time, whether, a lot of times it's emailing, and then just really making sure that I'm responding and I'm getting them answers.
Right.
Because it really can be, it's a mind game. It's a mind over matter when you're really working it through, because there are things with food that we miss when we have to take them away. And just to remember that it's not long-term. This is getting those numbers down, getting that inflammation down where you'll start to feel better. You'll see the other symptoms coming down, and helping them power through. But I might have not answered
it's
the question.
amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Very, very cool. What are the most common issues that you've been able to help people with using the LEAP protocol?
I'm trying to think specifically, because I feel like of the clients I've had, we've had a lot of differing symptoms coming in. One thing that I think has kind of maybe surprised me, or maybe surprised my clients, they're coming in for, I know like fatigue is a big one, for lethargy and that kind of thing. Honestly, I work with more clients with kind of that overall not feeling well versus specifically like a IBS or something. Right. But actually seeing mood improvements has been something that's been really exciting to see. I had one client tell me that in years past, she had been on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds. She had gone off of those. So it wasn't something, we were not messing with medications.
Right.
But after she had been on, after she had been following her LEAP protocol, she like her mood symptoms, I can't even tell you how they almost went away. It was incredible. So, and I think so surprising to her, because those weren't the symptoms she was looking to resolve.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that amazing? Like, you come for one thing, but then it starts to help other things. And I think it's just interesting that so many people come to do this protocol as I did, as a last ditch effort. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of, sometimes I'm just like, I wish we could get it out there, and maybe we could get people doing this first, so they're not going through all the medication, all the horror stories, all the unhappiness. If we could get them a little bit earlier.
It's so true, because so many clients, they'll come to us, and not, even if it's not with LEAP, or maybe they don't know that's going to happen, but it's like doctors, they just tell me to lose weight, or they just tell me, and again, not putting doctors down, but they have so much that they have to go through in 15 minutes. And maybe
we're the food specialists.
Right.
We are the professionals, right?
Yeah.
And they're the professionals in medicine. So that's why we're a good team. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is. That's why we have to work together. And that's why I hope, like, that's one thing I'm always excited when I have a client who's working with a new physician that I don't work with. I'm like, oh, I hope I get good results. So he, because I get it. Like, you want to be able to know when you're sending your client somewhere that they're going to get the help they need. And if you haven't seen the results yourself, like we have, because we've got to administer it, I think it's really important. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, they get run through the ringer sometimes before they find us. And so
I know, which is why I'm just like, share this podcast, because there's just so many ways to help. Yeah. And we pick up on so many things, because even we're focusing on food, sometimes we find that we have to look in other things like medications, like we have to look at toothpaste, lotions, and things like that to get the best result. And That's why we're the food professionals, because doctors don't have a lot of time to do that. They're awesome at what they do, but they might not have as much time to go through as many details as we do. So
that's right. Yeah, they have 15 minutes to look at the whole body. We get an hour to talk about.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much that goes into food that's the other thing I think people forget about is it's so much more than just what we put into our mouth. You know, the joy of it or the fear and all of the things. Like it's a bigger thing. So
absolutely. So what was the shortest time that you found a client feel better, and what was the longest time that you've seen it take a client to feel better?
I would say, I mean, obviously it depends on the commitment of the client. And like we talked about, phase 1 can be hard. Quickest, I mean, within that 11 days, you know, feeling a lot better. Can I tell you a failure on my end? Is that okay? I mean, I know that's not what you asked, but just something.
No, actually, I think that's wonderful, because I feel like I have a lot of people who have had super success on this, but I don't want it to seem like it's like a magic wand. Like this is a process that we're with you for a long period of time. And I'm not afraid to say that some people do need medications for. It doesn't work for absolutely everything all the time. It depends again on how intense the person is on following the phases. And everybody is so different. We can't just put a blanket and say none of this anymore, because it just doesn't work that way. That's why we work so closely with you, especially in the first 2 weeks, but during the entire process to get you feeling better. So please share.
Yeah. So one thing that I had to learn, well, myself and a client maybe learned the hard way. So I had a client who, again, she's one that's been through, she did have more of the IBS symptoms and had been doctor to doctor, procedure to procedure, all the things. And she came to me, we did the LEAP test, the MRT test, and started on her LEAP diet. However, what I had not accounted for was that my client was eating the majority of her meals from fast food and had been for a long time. And so instead of, like, hindsight, I should have eased her in. We should have just started avoiding some of those higher foods and getting her body adjusted, because she did an amazing job. Like, she did cold turkey from fast food, literally 2 to 3 meals a day. I mean, it was significant to her LEAP protocol, and her tummy hurt. Like, she, you know, she had some rough, symptoms. So it kind of scared her and she backed off. And so, I wished that I would have.
But now, you know, and people who come to you now, they will be able to use that information, and you'll be able to help somebody a little bit better, quicker. But also the thing to remember is now we just have so many fillers. Things are costing so much more money that different companies change different fillers on a regular basis to meet their budgets. So I often will read a label of something that I've had that I know is safe for me. I tend to read them like once a month, because there's just so many changes that are going on in the world right now. I don't know. They come up with about 10,000 new products in the supermarket every year, which I don't really understand how that's possible. I think it's 10 or is it 30? I don't know what it is right now. But so if they're coming out with new products, they're definitely coming out with new fillers for foods that we've enjoyed. So we got to make sure that we stay up on that. And as dietitians, we help you through the process with doing that so that you can be as successful as you can.
Yeah. And it's so smart. For everyone to check those labels, because you do get so used to, we just get into our habits. And so, that's a good reminder just for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So you ended up figuring it out, and she did well.
She did okay. Yeah. She was one that it scared her. So it took, she took a break and then we got back to it. And so it's been a slow process. But that's, it's okay. Feeling better. So
definitely. So she is still in the process. Without excluding her, what was the longest time that you've actually seen kind of a before and after?
Yeah. So I would say, like I said, like that first 10 to 11 days, and feeling so much better and able to add things in, to like extending that phase 1 for, a 30-day period. So
Right.
depending on symptoms, and of course, symptom surveys look totally different coming in. Some might, have a symptom survey of 40, and one recently was 119. So looking at, how fast we can come down realistically is important.
Absolutely. Very good point. So we talked about her, but what is your biggest success story, do you think?
Oh boy. I honestly think it's a client I already mentioned with those mood symptoms coming down. But not only that, I mean, the first time we met, maybe first or second, and when we were deciding, when she was trying to weigh out pros and cons as she do the MRT test, she said, she's a woman who, like, she's tough. She wasn't calling in sick very often, but she didn't feel good, but you wouldn't know. And she said, as I'm sitting here, everything hurts. Like I'm exhausted, my stomach hurts, my head hurts. And so, and she didn't even mention the mood stuff at that point.
That's one thing that I didn't, a term that I didn't really know until I started with with LEAP, presenteeism. It's like you're there, you're doing the work, but you're not yourself. You're not able to thrive and do what you want to do. And who wants to sit at a desk for 8 to 10 hours a day and just feel blah? So you're definitely improving your quality of life. It's not only I don't have a pain anymore, but it kind of goes through your whole body. Like, I feel good. I can do stuff. I feel
and you maybe didn't even realize like how bad it was until you get out of that, you break out of that. And so, yeah, I think she is one, because so many things improved for her. And it was not, again, it wasn't like it was a walk in the park for her. She was used to eating out with her husband and grabbing something. And, there are emotions that are tied with it, but that's why it's so important to work with a dietitian who's done this with other clients too. Because we can understand that. And then we can be that sounding board too, instead of, she was like, I was frustrated with my husband because he still ordered the thing I wanted to, but I knew I couldn't, and so being able to help support clients through that. But yeah, just seeing her, knowing that she feels so much better, that when she comes to see me, she's like, oh, I don't hurt everywhere. And, because it was joint pain and headaches and all the things. So.
Yeah. And that's everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it was her whole body.
Joints everywhere.
Yeah. So that was really exciting.
That's awesome. Oh, I love this. So what would you say to someone who has talked to you about it? They're hemming and hawing. What should I do? Should I do it? Should I not do it? What would you say that, what would you say to that person?
If I think they have to step back and look at their life a little bit too. And just candidly, like, if you have kids at home, you have to be, it is going to be more difficult as far as cooking meals and all of the things. So just look at it if it's a hesitation, what is it that is causing you the hesitation? Is it the financial piece? Is it the cooking the meals piece? Really figure out what that is and if it's realistic. But honestly, if you're feeling bad, if you're hurting, if you've questioned, I think often we don't even associate how we're feeling with that it could be a food sensitivity, because it's not something you hear about that often.
No, we just seem to think of food being comforting. We don't think about it being uncomforting, and we need to do something about it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think just really, I share success stories with clients I have. I know a person right now who's struggling with a health diagnosis that I really think it would help, but I don't want to push, that's the other piece too. Like, but know this is here, and know that I have data if you want to take it to your doctor. And
you have to be ready to do it. You definitely have to be ready, but it's so worth it.
It's so worth it. It really is. So yeah, figure out what time, in fact, this one client I have right now, he had the lab test, but we're entering in the holidays. So I'm like, okay, so you decide when you want to start this. Do you want to start it before Thanksgiving, or do you want to wait? It's all those things. So, but I think I don't know that I've had a person say they wish they hadn't done it.
Right. I totally agree. I've had more of, I wish I had known this before. Like, wow, that's that's pretty amazing. You know, I've had a lot of that, but yeah, I've never had anybody say, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have bothered," because you learn something about your body, about your operating system, if you will, your map of your body. I mean, you got manuals for your laptop, for your phone, for your car. And isn't it nice now that we can help out and give you an instruction manual to help you feel your best, because it's all personalized.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we go?
I can't think of anything burning. We covered a lot of information. I do just think you're right. It's not enough people know about it. And I think, you know, there are skeptics out there, and I understand that because I can be a skeptic, like I said, but it's, you know, I've realized that sometimes it's not about the huge studies and you know, with the millions of people or thousands of people, it's speaking to a individual person, or, you know, people, we've seen people that have had really cool stories. And that is, I've learned that's good enough. Like, we can know it works. We don't have to have, you know, the big studies that some people think we do. So to know that it helps people.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, it's been so nice talking to you and hearing your stories of success. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
Yeah,
and for our audience, I just want you to remember that lots of diseases are caused by inflammation. I mean, you've got arthritis, brain fog, IBS, fatty liver, migraines, the list goes on and on. So if you're wondering, remember that as certified LEAP therapists, we don't just give you the list. We don't just give you the test. We actually work with you so that we can help you build a less inflamed life. So why wouldn't you start with food? Let's get started with it. So I will have Emily's information down in the show notes, so you can check in with Emily if you are in her area of service. And feel free to email either one of us. We'd be happy to see you and get you feeling better. Thanks so much for your time, Emily.
Thank you.